The moment you've all been waiting for. Brittany Schmitt, everybody.
I recently celebrated an anniversary. I am 1 year sober. Thank you. In early sobriety, they encourage you to be single because it's such a transformative time, which I love because I love being single. The only person who doesn't like that is my husband. Not a big fan. When you're a married woman and you quit drinking, in the beginning, everyone thinks you're pregnant. And they want you to drink to prove that you're not. So I was at my friend's wedding recently, and she was like, Brittany, you're totally pregnant. Drink this and prove that you're not. And I was like, ugh. Listen, Stacy, if I have to drink to prove it, I'm gonna fuck your dad. Get that Mai Tai out of my face unless you want to call me mommy. I did notice that when I quit drinking, my husband started collecting expensive whiskey. Thought that was a little annoying. So I was like, babe, how come when I quit drinking, you started collecting whiskey? And he was like, I have been trying to collect it the whole time. Whoopsie. I am from Wisconsin, though. That's just what we do. We drank. You guys get it? We have T-shirts in our airport that say, drink Wisconsinably. My ex-stepmom used to decorate our house in tacky wine decor. She had a sign that said, wine is the answer, and I forgot the question. The question is, why did the neighbor boy find you naked in a ditch at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday? The question is, why is your cherry red Spider Eclipse parked in the kitchen? These are the questions. My first shot of hard liquor was Everclear. Thank you. If you don't know what that is, congratulations. You have homework. It's 190 proof grain liquor. And that being your first shot is a lot like losing your virginity to a traffic cone. Everything else is smooth sailing. My signature move when I drank was I used to send nudes the way Bed Bath & Beyond sends coupons. I'm like, if everyone in my phone gets 10, someone is bound to redeem. My grandma was like, Brittany, what on earth is this? I'm like, it's a numbers game, Grandma. Get on board. I have an uncle that loves to talk about politics, which is strange because he's been to prison a bunch. I do feel like the people that speak the most about politics have the least legs to stand on. But every time he talks, I'm like, the only thing stronger than your political convictions are your felony convictions. So anytime he talks, I'm like, opinions are like assholes. And he's like, everyone's got one? And I'm like, no, yours got torn to shreds in prison. When I was 15, I gave up drinking for Lent. But that was too hard, so I gave up Catholicism instead. And the priest wasn't sad to see me go because I was not his type. When you drink a lot, like I did, you start to do things that don't align with the version of yourself that you want to present to the world. So for me, I was going hard on let's call it a Tuesday. Because it was a Tuesday. And I was drinking rosé, and I thought to myself, do you know what this rosé would pair perfectly with? 2 more bottles of rosé. And some cocaine. So I did that happened, and I woke up the next morning with the shakes, and I threw on some sweats, and I took some Advil, which was a lot like throwing a teaspoon of water at a forest fire. And then I walked myself to the nail salon. And when I was at the nail salon, my nails were drying, and I had an itch in my nose, and I sneezed, and I shit my pants. And when you walk somewhere and you shit your pants there, you gotta walk back. You can't call a lift to come get you. So I had to walk while my sweatpants were doing the Lord's work. In only the way you would walk if you got fisted by Shaq. Or if you shit your pants. And I got back to my apartment, threw my sweats in the trash, showered off the shame, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, God damn it, Brittany. That was some good-ass cocaine. I did quit drinking, though, because the universe gave me a sign. And by universe, I mean police. And by sign, I mean DUI. So I got a DUI. And the fucked up thing about getting a DUI, as some of you will find out tonight, is you're wasted, so you think it's a joke. I'm like, they caught me. Pull over that ass too fast, whoop, whoop. The officer came up to my window and was like, excuse me, ma'am, is your judgment impaired? And I was like, yeah, I'm driving a Honda Element. And he was like, I'm gonna need to see your ID. So I went in my purse and I grabbed my credit card and I was like, shut the tab. And he was like, I'm gonna need you to step out of the car. And I was like, all right, but hypothetically speaking, in this situation, how far would a blow J Simpson get me? Spoiler alert, jail. Your girl had to go to jail for 30 days. Moment of silence for the death of my white privilege. It died in Arizona. And like I said, I'm from Wisconsin, and in Wisconsin, you can get about 4 DUIs before they call your landline, and they're like, hey, stop it. So I served my time in Los Angeles at the Beverly Hills Pay to Stay. Re-enter white privilege. And I was able to get out from 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday, to go to work. And the 4th of July was within my sentence somewhere. So I got out to go to work. But I went to a party. And And I was at this party and I was talking to this guy and I was like, has anyone ever told you that you look like a fun-sized Usher? And he was like, I'm Usher. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta go. And he's like, where are you going, Ma? And I was like, jail. And he didn't believe me, so he was like, let me take you to jail. So Usher, living up to its name, ushered me to jail. And I went into jail and I did not come out. And thank God for that, you guys, because I was reading TMZ recently and he's getting sued for giving everyone herpes. And I definitely would have fucked Usher. It was like my herpes matrix, like narrowly avoided that shit. To be fair, though, he did warn us with Gotta Let It Burn. I did quit drinking, but I wasn't convinced I was an alcoholic because you go to these AA meetings and you hear the craziest shit. Like the first one I was at, this woman was like 7 years ago. I was giving myself an abortion in an alley with a water pick. I was like, whoa, you can use a water pick? I could have saved so much money. Talk about a life hack. Alcoholism is a funny disease because it's the only one that's self-diagnosed. So it's a little tricky to understand because it's ambiguous. You know, all other diseases are a little easier to understand. Like, oh, you're a diabetic, so if you eat a Snickers, you'll lose a foot. For me, I try and explain it, and I'm like, I'm an alcoholic. So if I take a shot, I'll fuck a mascot at a Little League game. Where I know no one. And if you're not sure if you're an alcoholic, just pay attention because the world will give you clues. You know, for me, one of my clues was this country music song called When I Taste Tequila. You guys know that song? Really risky of me to ask that in Texas. Like going into a strip club and being like, any daddy issues? So the premise of the song is every time this guy tastes tequila, he thinks of one person. He thinks of his ex-girlfriend and all of the fun things that they did together. And I'm like, okay. When I taste tequila, it's just a montage of dicks. Just the 2008 to 2011 Marquette men's basketball team. College was a blackout. In a couple of different ways. But I actually heard from a guy recently that I used to hook up with in the NBA, and I thought he was going to be calling about the glory days, the hoary days. But instead, he was calling to tell me that now he's a Jehovah's Witness, and I should repent. And I started laughing. And he was like, why are you laughing? And I was like, this is just really hard to hear coming from someone who peed in my mouth. And he was like, Brittany, this is life-changing stuff. And I was like, so was that threesome we had with your cousin Keith. I loved being single. Do we have any single ladies in here tonight? That is the cry of a free woman. When you're a single, straight-ish woman, life is like a ball pit of dicks. You gotta play in that shit, because by the time you get married, you don't wanna be curious, you wanna be exhausted. I will say this, though, fucking a white guy's like eating a salad. You don't do it because it's the most filling option. You do it because it's good for you. My husband's white, so now after we fuck, he's like, I'm a salad. All of my relationships prior to my husband expired quicker than milk. By design, because my favorite part of the relationship was the chase. Like, there's nothing more interesting in somebody than if they're not interested in me. I'm like, oh, you're gonna block me on Instagram? I'm gonna wait in your bushes in a wedding dress. You're not gonna respond to my 33 text messages? I'm gonna plan our family. Do I want kids? No, I want your attention. When you're married, it's a little rough, though, because your partner's just always into you. Boring. I said that to my husband the other day. He was just, like, following me around with a boner. And I was like, could you not? Could you just, like, act, like, a little less into me? And he's like, babe, we're married. Like, do you want a divorce? And I was like, now you're talking dirty. I ran into a guy recently that I used to hook up with a couple of weeks before my now husband and I got together. And he said to me, good to know I was the last one. And I said, you, sir, were not even the last one that night. I fucked you because you had 3 Chipotle gift cards. I didn't even know how much was on them. I just wanted to be stuffed. You're not supposed to speak about your past like I do when you're a married woman, but fuck the patriarchy. I was on a flight recently with my husband, and I was reading an article, and it said every time you swallow a load, it's 15 calories. And I was like, babe, did you know every time I swallowed a load, it's 15 calories? And the guy in the middle seat was like, let me grab your husband. And then my husband was like, so you've swallowed like 15,000 calories? I was like, way more. What do you think my freshman 15 was? I could not afford food. I do feel bad for my husband, though, because she gets it. I do feel bad for my husband because I got sober in our marriage, and I used to be a very frisky drinker. I'd come home from ladies' night, bust through the door like the fucking Kool-Aid man, like, my neck, my back, lick me and my crack. And now I'm like, if you lick me, I'll call the police. I give my husband credit, though, because he does try and keep my inner hoe alive. We were stuck in traffic the other day, and he was like, babe. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Broad daylight, we are in standstill traffic. Everyone would see me. He's like, you're no fun anymore. And I was like, I'm driving. Everything's changing, though. My vagina changed for sure. You know, in my 20s, it used to be like a slip and slide. It's like dangerously wet, highly trafficked, entertained the whole neighborhood. And now that I'm in my 30s, it's like an abandoned pool. It's like dried out, a little haunted, and only visited by skateboarders. AKA my husband. He did try and take a dive in the shallow end the other day. That's what I call it when he tries to go down on me. And I was like, babe, no. And he's like, you never let me. And I'm like, because I don't have 4 years to spare. You know? My vibrator takes 2 minutes. It's like sending a carrier pigeon when you could shoot a text. One takes forever and the other actually makes. Everything changes when you get married, though. You know, your fantasies change for sure. When you're single, your fantasies are so simple. It's just like, pull my hair, fuck me in an alley, remember my name. And now that I'm married, my fantasy is just to roll over after sex and whisper something romantic like, hey, go home. Why do you live here? I love my husband, I just hate roommates. You learn a lot about each other being married, though. You know, we keep learning stuff about each other. We just learned recently that we have different love languages. His are touch and words of affirmation, and mine is being single. I'm just kidding, I don't actually want to be single. But married sex does get a little boring. And I was just talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, and she was like, have you ever heard of Sexy Stranger? And I was like, no, what's that? And she's like, it's where you dress up like strangers, and then you go out like you're strangers, and then you go home and fuck like strangers. I was like, whoa. Have you ever heard of a real stranger? Because that's who I'm trying to fuck. I have a theory that men with rape fantasies are creeps, and women with rape fantasies are just married. You know why the Titanic is the best love story of all time? It's because they met, they fucked for 3 days, and then Jack died. Sign me up for that cruise. I am on my first marriage. Gotta get it out of the way. I love my husband, but I do feel like marriage is statistically reckless, right? There's nothing else we're doing as a society with such a high rate of failure that we get so excited about. There was a 50% chance you walked out the front door and got shot in the head. You wouldn't be like, I have the perfect dress for this. Weddings are weird, too. I don't know why we're still doing these. They're just a giant charade. The people getting married are stressed out. The people there have somewhere else they'd rather be. It just feels like a very expensive way to tell people, you can't fuck me anymore. My uncle's like, bummer. And something always goes wrong at the 11th hour, too. There's a last-minute snafu. You know, the classics, like the dress doesn't fit, the cake's the wrong flavor, the groomsmen are on acid. So for my wedding, my mom killed herself 3 days before. That's one way to RSVP. Just kidding, she wasn't invited. But she did die doing what she loves, which is stealing my spotlight. That joke usually kills. If you didn't like that one, you're gonna hate this one. When you lose someone to suicide, it's not uncommon to have very lucid dreams of their time of death. So the first time that happened to me, I shot out of bed. I was covered in sweat. My eyes were running because I came so hard. So I'm in therapy. My therapist is on maternity leave and it shows. But when she's not, after every session, I like to tell her, "You are my most expensive friend." And she's like, "We're not friends." And I'm like, "You have intimacy issues." And she's like, "You're projecting." I love therapy, but I do feel like it's a very well-intentioned pyramid scheme. Because every time I get back from therapy, I say to my husband, "My therapist and I think that you need to go to therapy." And being married to a man is weird because they don't like being told what to do, but they don't know what's best for them. So you have to judo mindfuck them into thinking everything is their idea. Like things my husband currently think are his idea are like flossing his teeth, brushing his teeth, being married to me. So my husband decided to go to therapy. And I was so excited. I texted my therapist. I was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna go. Who should we send him to?" And I'm not kidding you when I say she sent me the hottest person I've ever seen in my entire life. This bitch was wearing a choker in her professional headshot. Nothing says, "I suck to trick my Fitbit." Quite like a choker. So I was like, "Never mind, babe, you don't need to go to therapy. We will have much bigger issues if you spend an hour a week with..." And my husband's an idiot. Like, he is handsome and hilarious, and women are hitting on him all the time. They hit on him in front of me. It's insane. I'm like, "I might seem nice, but I will cut." And he's like, "Babe, you have nothing to worry about. You do not seem nice." And it's funny too, when you get married, your single girlfriends like to aspirationalize your marriage. They're like, "Where did you meet Chris? I feel like all the good guys are married." And I was like, "Mine was too when I met him." And no, I didn't take him out of that marriage. His ex shit the sheets and I swooped in. And have you guys ever started dating someone and you look at their ex and then you question your entire existence? Not only does she look like an old shoe, but she's a reckless person, you know? Like, she had an affair, got pregnant, and had the other guy's baby, all while they were still married. I know. I could never keep the baby. My husband and I don't want babies because we want sleep and money and for our marriage to work. And I think it's weird that it's socially acceptable to tell people that they should have kids, but not that they shouldn't. You know? Like my old boss, who had a meth phase in college and eats Adderall like Lucky Charms for breakfast, was always like, you guys need to have a baby. And like, you need to safely surrender yours. Before I did comedy full-time, I used to work in an office, but I couldn't do that shit because you have to be passive-aggressive as fuck to work in an office. I didn't realize the English language had a whole second meaning with passive-aggressive email English until I started receiving these emails. I didn't realize that thank you could mean fuck you. Or that per my last email means your shot your mom should have swallowed. Or my favorite was, does this make sense? One time my supervisor put me on an email with the CEO of the company and signed off with, does this make sense? I said, does this make sense, Jacqueline? You just CC Dave? This is a fucking war zone. I'm gonna shit on your desk. So I had to quit that job because I got an HR complaint filed against me, which was uncomfortable because I worked in HR. No, but when I was there the whole time, my boss was like, you need to have babies. She's like, you're going to change your mind because babies are miracles. And I'm like, oh, babies are miracles? Have you met people? What's the cutoff? When did Jeffrey Dahmer stop being a miracle and start being a serial killer? And I don't want a baby because I'm still raising my husband. The other day, he scratched his legs until they bled. And I was like, babe, you gotta use lotion. And he was like, I don't believe in lotion. I was like, okay, well, it's not a belief system, it's science. I'm like, if you were black, you'd get it because you'd be ashy. And he was like, if I were black, you'd love me more. And I was like, that's also science. All right, I'm gonna leave you guys with this. I feel like relationships are hard in general, even if you're not married, but I think they're harder for girls. Because as girls, you're raised being told all this fantastical shit about what your love life is gonna be like. Your dad calls you princess, and you're like, oh my God, there's gonna be a prince and a horse in a castle. I'm in. And my dad just called me squirt. And I couldn't even live up to that. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so
much. Nah, man, you bodied. You bodied. And it's good too, because it would have been a crazy night for me to have to trash you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.